Hi everyone. Such a beautiful day today. I want to talk about something that I think is really important. And I'm going to go outside because it's so pretty out here. Thought it'd be nice to come out and enjoy this beautiful sunshine. It's so pretty. Anyway, I just wanted to talk to you for a second because I've been doing some research lately on just getting to know myself a little bit better. And one of my goals in life, and with my podcast and with the YouTube channel and the things that I'm doing to educate people and to help them kind of do that self-love and self-care and take care of themselves even more. With me really doing all of that and focusing on that, I really wanted to make sure that I'm doing that for myself as well, because it's important that whatever I'm sharing with you is the same thing that I'm applying and doing for myself. It's so pretty out here. But anyway, so I've been doing a lot of research, and I realized that I am a lot different than a lot of people. And there are a lot of people like me, but I haven't really connected with a lot of those people. And if you're listening to this and you start to hear some of these tendencies and you can relate to them, then I really want to make sure that that you understand what you're going through and figure out a way to make those things better. So first thing, I looked up the term called highly sensitive people, HSP, and another term called an empath. These things are correlated. Like, there are people that are highly sensitive and also an empath, but because you're one doesn't mean that you're the other. So a lot of times, like, people get the characteristics mixed up, and what they think, they might think that they are highly sensitive, and my dog is kind of going crazy right now. Anyway, they might think that they're highly sensitive when they're really an empath, and vice versa. They're really an empath when they're really highly sensitive. So I'm encouraging you to go and take a look at and Google on the definition of a highly sensitive person and an empath. But I'm going to share with you how I think about it and how I'm able to relate to it, and how it describes me to a T in some instances perfectly. So I'm going inside because he's going to keep barking. I don't know what he's doing over there, but anyway. So I am relating to being a highly sensitive person, which means that I am very aware of other people's feelings. I am extremely sensitive when it comes to my own feelings. And I tend to want to help people not feel the way that I feel or have felt others felt. That's kind of a definition of a highly sensitive person. They just have these abilities to relate and feel, and their emotions are a little bit higher than most other people. They have really high sensitivity around emotions. An empath is a person who's able to connect and absorb other people's energies. So they can go into a room and feel instantly when somebody's energy is off. If somebody's depressed, they will take on the characteristics of also being depressed just by being in that person's presence. If somebody's really, really happy, they'll be like really super happy because they can actually feel that presence from somebody else. So an empath is just very keenly aware of how somebody else is feeling. And they also have the ability to, it's almost like a psychic power, that if somebody is sitting next to them or sitting with them and they're connected to that person and that person is thinking something, but they're not able to express it, or they're not saying something. The empath has the ability to actually say exactly what's on their mind and express what they're feeling without that person ever having said anything to them about it. I think that's really cool. I've done that several times. Empaths usually have people who come to them and seek advice very often, because they have like a different way of thoughts. They think differently than the rest of the world. They have really deep thoughts, and they're very wise. And people seek them out for their opinion very often when stuff goes on. And so as I read through the definition of these two and the characteristics of these two types of people, I came to the conclusion that I am both a highly sensitive person and an empath. And I think I might be more borderline highly sensitive, because there are some of the traits within the highly sensitive person characteristics that are they're just not me. Like, for instance, being extra jumpy and actually physically taking on people's pains. Like, I'm not, like if somebody gets a prick in their arm, I can feel the prick. Like, I'm not that sensitive. So yeah, there are some things that I just didn't relate to, but almost everything on the empath list, that is me. So I have surrounded myself with a lot of people who are totally different than I am. And they actually don't understand people like me. And I actually take the time, I get to educate people around understanding people who have those characteristics, highly sensitive people. Like, for instance, a highly sensitive person is, they try to avoid conflict, and they also cannot stand to be criticized. So if you're around a highly sensitive person, and you probably have seen this before, where you are just thinking that you're giving somebody tough love, and you just want to go to that person and say, hey, look, this thing, whatever it is that you're doing, you need to stop. And this is what you need to do. Get it together and just stop. Well, saying it that way to somebody who's highly sensitive, they're not going to be receptive to it. And I think it makes a lot of other people really, it makes them frustrated, and they almost want to give up around being around that person. And probably people have like walked away from sensitive people because they just don't know how to relate to them. But a sensitive person can be your very best friend. They can be like the very, very best lover. Like, oh gosh, a sensitive person loves, a highly sensitive person really loves, like, huge. Like, they have like this love because they're so in touch with their emotions, that loving on a highly sensitive person just feels like the best thing that you've ever experienced in your life. But when you hurt a highly sensitive person, that pain is equally felt, because a highly sensitive person just doesn't know how to shut off emotions. And I just thought it was really interesting to get to know that about myself and really connect and relate to what it is. But the thing that I am excited about even more is that on this journey that I'm doing with having my podcast and the story times and this education to people and trying to get people to self-love and self-care for themselves, is really driven, first of all, because that's just what highly sensitive people do. They like to help people. And empaths, we love helping people. We love being able to give back to people and help people. So my way of helping people is to really share like these tips and things to help people care for themselves more and love themselves. Like me sharing my love for you to love yourself and take care of yourself is just something natural. But I want to do it because, I feel like that's my purpose and my goals. but I actually have the steps to be able to do it effectively. And I've actually experienced things, and because of the people that I put myself around who don't give me a break at all for being sensitive, I've been able to kind of take how they're thinking and how I think about situations and like just meet in the middle. So while I know that all people are not exactly like this, there are some tools and things that we can use throughout some of the topics that I'll be talking about in the podcast. And that's where I want to invite you to kind of share with me what you're thinking as well. But I do have a pretty good idea of how people interact with people like me. And I just want to make it better, because you should have highly sensitive people in your life. You should have empaths in your life, because they actually bring the balance to your life, and they actually help life get better, because they have such good compassion that when something is happening in the world and in your surroundings and in your environment that just feels a little off, they're able to come in and absorb that and make the atmosphere even better, because they want it to be better. They feel that tension, and they feel that hurt and that pain, and they try their best to refill it and charge it up with a lot of love and a lot of positivity and a lot of great energy to make just the atmosphere feel even better. And then I was reading on some of the different stories of people who are empaths, and how people say that being around an empath makes them feel better when they're going through stuff. And that's because they absorb other people's bad energy, so they can walk away and feel better just instantly around being around a person like that. So that is one thing that I want to do over the next couple of story times and podcast examples and story times. I want to kind of share some of the life stories and things that I've done to tone down some of the sensitivity and some of that absorbing, because it's extremely overwhelming when you're a person who cares so much about everybody else. It's overwhelming. And I've learned how to turn it up when I need it and turn it down when I don't. Like, for instance, for me, turning it up, when I am leading a team, you can ask many of my team people who've been on my teams before. People really love working for me because I am so caring and so compassionate for the people who work for me. And I've always had high performing teams. Always. That's always been something that I can say that I'm very proud of. And not because of me, it's because of the compassion that I have for the people. They just give it back because they feel so good. I come into work and I help them feel better about the day, the atmosphere, whatever is going on. I'll say, hey, something's not right. Our numbers aren't looking good. What is it? What's the obstacle in the way? And then they tell me, and I take it and I run and I fight for it, make it better. And then things get that much better. So that's an example of when I turn it up. But when I need to turn it down, like for instance, avoiding conflict, I have to, as a leader, and then at home, as like with friends, with any situation, you can't avoid conflict. And so I had to learn how to tone down that desire to run away from conflict and actually face those situations. And I really want you to read the definition on a highly sensitive person of what it feels like when they're in conflict. There's a physical pain. And if you're a highly sensitive person and you understand where I'm coming from, there's actually something inside that actually hurts when you're going through conflict. And I've learned how to suppress that pain and be able to go through the conflict, because you have to. Like, you can't avoid some of these things. You can't run away from stuff. So yeah, I have like a lot of good tips and things that I want to share over the next few weeks on how to take on some of those characteristics, even if you're not, and improve your life overall. Because we all just want to live in a world where we're all peaceful and we're all happy and we're just loving life. So stay tuned for some more of my topics coming up.